let's go ahead and get into the first thing that we got going on, and we're going to take up a trip up to Canada and Mark Carney. So again, this is a guy that I don't necessarily claim to have a whole bunch of information on or be an expert on. There's just a few things that I've seen from him, and he's connected to and whatnot that I think y'all should be aware. Especially since it seems like he's the dude who's probably going to be taking the spot in Canada. And we got a lot of stuff up in the air regarding Canada with, 51st state claims and stuff like that. These apparently Carney seems to hate Trump and Trump seems to hate Carney and all that stuff. But again, we can't take any of that stuff seriously, all the theatrics of media and whatnot. So there's a lot of stuff up in the air. So I think it would be a good idea to at least just take a look at what's going on with Carney here. So Carney apparently is ahead in the polls as Canada enters last week an election campaign. Let's see here. So yeah, Liberal leader Carney seeks mandate to take on Trump. Carney says Trump poses a huge threat to Canada. So again, all that stuff going on. Liberals lead with 43.7% in polls, conservatives 36%. This was on the 21st, so this was yesterday. And again, the polls, I never trust the polls anyways, because it's like, I've never been polled for anything. And I'm not just talking about political polls. I'm talking about polls all over the place. Like all the Barna information that came out prior saying 60 million Christians didn't vote in the last election and stuff like that. I was never polled. So again, these poll numbers and stuff is just a bunch of junk. So I want to never trust those things anyways. It says Prince Edward Island, 21st, Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney ahead in the polls in the run-up to April 28th selection. Need a little S right there. Just put a little S there. Renewed calls on Monday for voters to give him a strong mandate to deal with U.S. President Donald Trump tariff threat. Carney says Trump's tariffs and talk of the annexation pose a huge threat and mean that Canada needs to reduce its reliance upon the United States and restructure its economy. Seems to be a recurring theme in the media regarding all these countries and whatnot. We need to become more independent and break free from the United States and all that type of stuff. Except India. I don't know if you guys saw that, but India says we're more inclined to go with the United States over China. It's like, well, you're going to be in a bad spot then, just to let you know. Anyways, we need a government that makes a strong mandate, a clear mandate. We need a government that is we need a government that has a plan that meets the moment, Carney said during his campaign in Charlottetown. The 60-year-old ex-central banker who had no prior political experience before running to become Liberal leader earlier this year. It's amazing how we are in a time right now where it's all about breaking free from the politicians. And so we're installing bankers and businessmen involved up there, and they all have some type of acting experience. It's interesting how that works. Rebuilding trust, right? Anyways, so he says he's a banker, no political experience, and he built himself as someone who knows how to negotiate and how to manage a crisis. Are you saying that he has the art of the deal as well? Again, pretty interesting. The Liberal platform, which promises additional spending of around 130 billion Canadian over the next 4 years, predicts that the 2025-26 deficit will be 62.3 billion Canadian, far higher than the 42.2 billion Canadian forecasted in December. So he wants to come in and start raising the budget. That's always a good idea, right? Carney replaces Justin Trudeau, who had been in power for more than 9 years and was the focus of opposition attacks about inflation, high immigration levels, and a housing crisis. In due turn, he deserves such a thing. The official opposition Conservatives have been 20 points ahead at the turn of the year, but now trail the Liberals. The thing is, and I want to put this point out there now regarding this. Again, we're going to go over Carney here because there's a lot of stuff that he's connected to and people he's connected to that ain't good. But I just want to make sure that we understand that the Pierre dude, Poilievre, however you pronounce his last name, and the whole Conservative Party. I don't know if anybody's taken a look at the Conservative Party, but they are all involved with the Sikh religion. They're all involved with the International Canadian Council. They're all involved with the WEF Young Global Leaders and whatnot. So the Conservative Party and the lead dude there, Pierre, they're just as corrupt as these guys. It's the same left-right thing of giving you the illusion of a good guy, bad guy type of thing. And they're all involved with that as well. So for all the Canadians, you guys are in the same position as us down here in the United States and pretty much every country out there. Ain't none of them good. So I just want to put that forward. Ain't none of them good. Polyev. Yeah, you and the French dialect, man. French. Either way, it's just one of those situations where it doesn't matter who it is. It's not good. Anyways, all right, let's go ahead and move on and take a look at some of this dude's connections. World Economic Forum's Mark Carney, a contender to replace Trudeau. Carney is an incarnation, wow, I can read, I promise, of elite presumption, predictably wrong on every issue. I like that, predictably wrong. Mark Carney, a foundation board member of the World Economic Forum and former governor of the Bank of Canada, may enter the Liberal leadership race following Justin Trudeau's resignation. So yeah, if you guys don't know, foundation board member of the World Economic Forum. Indeed, if we go back to the Wayback Machine, and I put this full screen here, go back to the Wayback Machine. This was back in 2022. He's been there was there for a long time. But yeah, go back to 2022, go back to the Board of Trustees, and you can see Mark Carney right hither. He was one on the board of the trustees. So yes, he's definitely a part of that whole situation there. So yeah, that's confirmation on that. Let's see here. For months, Carney has actively engaged with Liberal MPs, calling dozens seeking advice and support for the potential leadership run, according to reports. I'm taking steps to support that, he said in October when asked if he'll run for political office. I'm in the trenches. Oh yeah, he's in the trenches. I mean, you can't map these things out. Of course, there's value in that. It's like you got to speak with like a grunt voice. I'm in the trenches, the political trenches. Carney participates in WEF events, particularly at the annual Davos meeting. He was involved in various panels and discussions. Excuse me. Speaking on topics like monetary policy, global economic outlook, and more recently, the economic aspects of climate change and sustainable finance. He's a big proponent of the climate change agenda. Yippee. Our revolution is taking place in the financial systems. I wholeheartedly agree with that. He said in a WEF statement, the WEF introduced the controversial Great Reset in response to global upheaval caused by the CUF situation. Yeah, I've made it clear I believe that the actual Great Reset has not started yet. We're seeing the creation of it, but they're going to push that reset button, I believe, when the Antichrist comes onto the scene. I believe that's going to be Daniel's 70th week when that whole reset begins. They probably don't know that. But I'm just from the outlook of what Scripture says and who the string pullers are, the Luciferians and stuff like that. I'm pretty sure that we have a good idea that Great Reset begins with the signing of that covenant in Daniel's 70th week. Critics argue that the reset promotes an agenda that may lead to increased government control over economic and social systems, potentially at the expense of individual liberty. Yeah, pretty accurate on that one. We need a reset on the way we deal with climate change, which, like the pandemic, is a global phenomenon. No one can self-isolate from climate change, so we all need to act in advance and in solidarity. Trudeau, like Carney, spoke at several WEF Davos meetings where he interacted with international leaders on topics like economic inclusion, climate change, and gender equality. So again, we're kind of Mark Carney is one of those people that's at the leftist sphere of the agenda stuff. He's still pushing the old order, while we see things here like in the United States with Trump, which is still part of the globalization of everything, part of the global elites, but it's more of the new order. That's the thing, is like the new world order is not that old order that everybody thinks it is. The new world order is exactly what the stuff that like Trump and Thiel and those guys are bringing in. So it's interesting how that all plays out. I'm not going to sit here and tell you like I have an answer of how the old order meets new order, how that's all going to happen with the clashes and everything. It's going to be interesting to watch, but it is fascinating that they're looking to bring in an old order guy for Canada, especially with everything going on. So I'm curious to see what's going to happen regarding that. Is there anything else on here that I was going to do? No, that's all on that article. So when it comes to this, we took a look again at the old WEF board, but he's also part of this as well, a group called Group 30. And I don't know, hands in the chat if anybody has heard of Group 30 before, but they are a consultant group of a whole bunch of high stakes bankers, financial experts, quote unquote experts, business leaders, and politicians. And their goal is to come together in order to guide things in a consultant manner on the global monetary system that's being done. That's it in a nutshell. There's a lot of stuff. We're not going to go over it. I don't think it's needed. But if you look over here at the right, former chairs of the Group of 30, you can see Mark Carney from 2023 to January 2025. He was a part of this as well. So if you guys want to dig into the Group of 30, you guys can take a look at them further if you want to. Depending on what happens in the future, maybe I'll do something on it, maybe not. Again, I'm not necessarily seeing a reason to do it, but Mark Carney is not only part of the WEF, but he's part of this as well. There is somebody else, and yeah, this is one to pay attention to. Augustin Karstens, he's the general manager, the main dude for the Bank for International Settlements. We've talked about the Bank for International Settlements a lot on this channel. Everybody tends to focus on central banks and the IMF and all that type of stuff, but it's the Bank for International Settlements that basically is the puppeteer for all of those other systems. So it should be no surprise that they're involved with this as well. That should give you an indicator of the influence that the Group of 30 have in all this stuff, because the Bank for International Settlements is often not discussed when it comes to the financial situation, but they play a heavy role in everything that's going on. Another guy that I want to point out on this is Niall Ferguson. Niall Ferguson, Milbank Family Senior Fellow, Hoover Institution, Stanford University, Belfer Center, Science, International Affairs, Harvard University, and all that stuff. Who is this guy? Well, if we jump over to ARC, Jordan Peterson's ARC, the Responsible Citizenship. This is basically the WEF for the right. That's all this is. This is the right-wing WEF. We've talked about them in the past. I've got videos and stuff if you want to check it out. Well, if we jump down, I gotta find him. Where's he at? There he is. He's on the board for the ARC. So, yeah, that should tell you about all the inner workings, all the connections between supposed right-wing values and conservative values that we're going to be bringing on, as well as the overall global elite, as well as the left side of what's going on as well. They're all in the same party. They're all connected. And he's right here. Same dude, part of the same group. And it should be quite revealing that all these guys, again, play for the same team. They're all part of the same team when it comes to this. Whether you're talking about full-on climate change dork that is Mark Carney, or going all the way over to the conservative WEF side that is Niall Ferguson and the ARC situation. They're all playing for the same team in regards to this. Is there anything else? Yeah. So that was the other thing that I want to point out on this. If we go back to the Group of 30, because they're all in this. This dude, Kevin Warsh. If you're from down south, you should know that Warsh is pretty familiar when it comes to washing your clothes. Kind of wash some stuff. Anyways, if you're not from the south, you probably think I'm nuts. Either way, Kevin Warsh, Shepherd Family Distinguished Visiting Fellow of Economics, Hoover Institution, Stanford University, former member Board of Governors, the Federal Reserve System. Who is Kevin Warsh? Well, we jump over to here. We see Kevin Warsh, the financier, rumored to be Trump's next pick for the Fed. He's one of two guys that we have been kind of that they've been rumored to take up positions for the next chair position after Powell. which we see what's going on when it comes to the media display there. Trump's all over Powell, saying he needs to be fired. He's the one causing the collapse. He's causing all this and that and stuff. We got to remember that Trump was actually the one that installed Powell, and now he's saying he's an idiot and he needs to get fired and he's causing problems. Nobody ever wants to remember that. But yeah, so Kevin Warsh is apparently one of the guys. And when it comes to Kevin Warsh, he was actually the dude that helped orchestrate and bail out all of the banks during 2008. Yes, that guy. He's one of the guys that help with the infrastructure of bailing out the banks during the 2008 financial crisis. Trump is considering Kevin Warsh for Federal Reserve Chair, the Wall Street reported. Trump has criticized Powell's performance and says he has the authority to remove him before 2008. He's been flip-flopping. He said he's not going to fire him, then he is going to fire him, then he's not going to fire him. Now the latest thing is he isn't going to fire him. It's just a whole bunch of back and forth like everything else that they've been doing. Warsh, a former Fed governor, advised against prematurely firing Powell, according to the Journal. Trump wants to shake up the Federal Reserve, and he has sights set on the right person for the job. Trump is considering Kevin Warsh, a former Fed governor, to replace Jerome Powell as the chair of the Federal Reserve, according to reports of the Wall Street Journal. Publicly, the president has made it clear he's not happy with Powell. In private, Trump has discussed ousting Powell before his Fed term is up in May of 2026. And of course, he goes on his Truth Social platform saying the Fed chair is always too late and wrong, and adding that Powell's termination cannot come fast enough. Well, you're the moron who put him in place. But again, bad information, right? It's just bad information. Because Trump makes all the good decisions, except when he doesn't, then it's just bad information. I think I got it all figured out, how you're supposed to spin that and everything. But anyways, I just wanted to put that forward regarding that. Where's that? This group of 30 thing is pretty interesting, and there's some interesting names a part of this as well. Yeah, if you guys are interested, go check it out. Some people in high places. And people in high places are put there purposely. That's the best way to put it on that. The other thing when it comes to Mark Carney that I want to go over is an advisor that was just recently added to his team, which is pretty interesting. So if we take a look, it says the Century Initiative is the talk of the campaign, but what is it? Group co-founder was named to Mark Carney's advisory team last week. This was from March 25th or 24th of this year. It says the campaign may have just begun, but conservative leader Pierre, I already forgot how to pronounce his last name, we'll just call him Poli. Pierre Poli has already looked to have found his favorite target, the liberal-linked Century Initiative, the little-known pro-immigration lobby group, which seeks to grow Canada's population to 100 million by 2100, has been on Poli's lips a lot in the campaign's opening stretch after Liberal leader Mark Carney added Century Initiative co-founder Mark Wiseman to his advisory council on Canadian-U.S. relations last week. Poli said Friday a pre-writ skilled trades announcement in suburban Ottawa. The appointment shows the Liberal leader shares the group's controversial vision for a more crowded Canada. So this is, again, a group that basically just wants to accelerate the immigration situation and bring in a whole bunch of outside people. What are they saying? Well, it has to do with the drop in birth rates. That seems to be the key everywhere when it comes to these immigration groups. Well, we got a drop in birth rates. So how are we going to fix this? Well, immigration. That's the best way to do it. No, that's not the best way to do it. Either way, I saw an interview. Who was it? I don't remember. It was some dude, and he was being interviewed with Anthony Bourdain, which he's like the chef guy. I don't really care much about Anthony Bourdain. But the one guy, I wish I could remember his name. The one guy was saying the best way to fix the world, not the country, but the world. The best way to fix the world is we have to get rid of the racial problems. And the only way to do that is to slide black skin color up and white skin color down so everybody has a cream colored skin. So we're all on the same playing field. And I'm sitting here going, that is the dumbest, most eugenics thing that I've ever heard in my entire life. But that's what these people believe. That's what they want to do. That's how they want to do this. And it's absolutely sick and twisted what these people are trying to do. It's disgusting. It's absolutely disgusting. My word. But when you look at all the campaigns and stuff like that, I mean, you're seeing a lot of mixed races and whatnot, and it's all about trying to mix that and do. It's sick. It's absolutely sick. By bringing in Mr. Wiseman, it shows that Mark Carney supports the Liberal Century Initiative to nearly triple our population to 100 million people. That is the radical liberal agenda on immigration. Pauly promised to stop the Radical Century Initiative at his Ottawa campaign launch on Sunday, which is interesting because he's so tied up with just a massive amount of Sikhs. So I'm curious to see how that works out. Carney, who said he'll scale back immigration to pre-pandemic levels, has distanced himself from the group, telling reporters that Friday's First Minister's meeting that Wiseman will be advising him on matters relating to immigration. Here are a few things that we know about that, and we don't really need to go into it. But basically, the Century Initiative, founded in 2014, bills itself as a diverse, nonpartisan network of Canadians, business, academic, charitable sectors, all about increasing immigration because, again, 1.6 children per women and stuff, so it all has to do with fertility and stuff. Here's an idea. Stop pumping people full of chemicals that are getting rid of the ability to be fertile. But we know that's not going to happen. Yeah, we know that's not going to happen. Anyways, so who's this Mark Wiseman guy? Why am I pointing this dude out? And it doesn't have to do with the immigration situation. I'm pointing him out because of his background. You guys knew that this was coming. First, we got the WEF. Now we've got BlackRock. Mark Wiseman leaving BlackRock after failing to disclose consensual relationship with colleagues. So he was one of the, not top dudes, but he was pretty high up in the world of BlackRock. 3 years ago, when was this article? This was 2019. So this was 19, 18, 17, 16. So it's about 16. Mark Wiseman left his, hopefully that math's right. Otherwise, I just made myself look like an idiot. Anyways, Mark Wiseman left his powerful perch atop Canada Pension Plan Investment Board for a high-level job at BlackRock, Inc., a surprise move that put the then 45-year-old in contention to potentially one day run the world's largest asset manager. On Thursday, any such hopes were cut short when BlackRock abruptly announced Wiseman was leaving after violating the company's thing. We don't care about that. But yeah, so he's a part of, well, was a part of BlackRock. But there's still more connection to all of this, which would be this woman, Marcia Moffett. Marcia Moffett is the wife of Mark Wiseman, and Marcia Moffett is the country head of Canada's BlackRock division. Marcia Moffett, managing director, is BlackRock country's head of Canada. As country head, Marcia is responsible for the leadership and strategic direction of BlackRock's business activities in the region. Through our institutional client and iShares businesses, the growing technology and advisory service, the Canada team is focused on sharing the very best of the firm's global capabilities and local expertise with Canadian clients. So even though Mark Wiseman is not a part of BlackRock anymore, his wife is the head of Canada's division of it. Any of this surprise you? Because it really shouldn't.